So we're going to be talking about humans and technology, and we're going to be thinking about things like whether or not humans can work with technology, or whether it will be the downfall of both the human race and the world around us. So yeah, this is Ben, and he's going to be chatting with me.
Cool.
So I don't think that technology is in any way going to be the downfall of the human race. In fact, I think that it will be the only way for us to survive, because there are so many natural hazards and things around us that we have managed to overcome with the use of technology. We no longer have any natural predators apart from the ones that kind of rebel against our systems. So there is not really any way that natural hazards other than volcanoes and things that we seriously can't control but we can prevent killing us are really going to be a downfall. So
Are you saying that in the future we might find something to stop technology to stop volcanoes killing us?
Well, no, but obviously we have things like trackers, and we have ways of tracking volcanoes so that we know to get out of the way when they attack us.
But the technology
when they start erupting.
Wouldn't you say that the technology we've used to protect ourselves, we've just brought that on and used it for other more destructive means? So the technology we used to stop, say, predators like elephants attacking us hundreds of years ago, we've now developed to shoot elephants for their ivory.
Well, obviously, but alongside the production of new technologies and this sort of protecting ourselves, we start to reinforce and become politicised, and we seem to have risen above the idea of killing species when they're not harming us. And we're starting to move past it. Obviously, in other countries where they're sort of at a lower sort of rate of technology to us, they're still killing predators who could, harm their crops and things. But we're starting to reinform, and obviously
Are you saying
soon we might be
technology
able
has
to
helped us to become discover a higher plane of being? So technology has pushed us on towards that.
More
than primates, more than other animals. We are now something more. We're more superior.
Not necessarily superior. I don't think superior would be the word I would use. But obviously, because we're now using technologies which stop us from having to fight off other beings, and we don't have anything. We have these walls around us to protect us. We're essentially living in such a culture that we don't have to fight off.
Do these walls turn us in on ourselves, though? Do these walls, when new tribes discover new types of technology, they usually use them for attacking one another, and technology usually turns human beings against one another. I think that's been proved over and over again throughout history. One tribe of humans basically turns on another when one has better technology. It will not use it to help other human beings, it will just use it to attack them. And I think in that way we have not developed it at all. You see other humans, when they've developed, say, a new type of chemical, they just use it for ill. And I think that you could say humans have developed and that we are superior to other beings, but that doesn't necessarily make us better than animals.
Well, I suppose in many ways we do still have the sort of animalistic properties that...
So we're just animals with tools. We could be monkeys with bombs.
But it does make it easier for us to survive. Our survival rate is higher by more than, by about 200%.
Yes,
it's more than double.
I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom and technology is terrible for us. I'm just arguing that I think it's not the perfect rosy world that you're projecting.
No, obviously it's not going to be perfect or rosy, but there's still that future. There's still that idea that we can start to reform technology so much so that there won't be any more water crises, and there won't be, this huge amount of devastation that's caused. We could even start to progress so that we can track things like tsunamis, so that we know when to clear cities, and we're moving forward. Whereas all the animals and things and the creatures that live in the cities that tsunamis wash over still get killed, but they have no technology to know when it's going to move.
So
we don't have these sort of sensors that tell us when a volcano is going to erupt. We don't have the sensors that say, oh my god, there's an earthquake, we better run away. There are snakes and stuff that come down off mountains because that's what they've adapted to live in.
Do you think we'd survive without technology now? If we got taken away, do you think we'd cope? Or do you think we have become dependent on technology? The modern person.
Yeah, I have to agree that we are very much dependent on technology.
It's very much Lord of the Flies scenario.
Yeah, it is.
But in Lord of the Flies, William Golding does project a world where humans go back to basic instincts, but they do survive and they become feral and animalistic. Do you think technology is that barrier between becoming animalistic? If someone took away our technology and our ability to cope in the modern world, would we crumble, or would we revert to animalistic tendencies?
I don't think William Golding was necessarily talking about technology, but more about politics. So I think that we're in a state now where we're kind of between technology and politics, and people use technology for power. And I think in the future it might be that technology rises above the idea of a power complex. So we all have the same basic technologies.
I think we're getting into human instincts here. I think
well, yes,
technology, I think, in a way, just reflects the human instinct and desire. And technology, you've seen, it just reflects how the person who controls the technology is just a big red button, and the person who controls the button will obviously project his desires and feelings onto the way, and his powers on the way he wants technology to work. It's not a different sentient being.
But I think that, like the idea of it just being an addition to us, we can use that for our own advantage. So in the first world, we've now become adapted to all have computers and cameras and phones and all these different things that will make it easier for us to survive. And I think that in the future, we may progress ahead of ourselves and be able to rid ourselves of all of the horrible things that we've caused. So we might find an easy way to get rid of things like pollution and greenhouse gases, and we might find
but do you think we will, though?
We might find a way of solving oil problems. So we might find a way of getting rid of all of these pollutions that we've caused.
Yeah. So in the end, do you think humans will use technology eventually for the greater good?
Well, I can't say for sure, obviously, I'm not trying to predict anything, but it could go one way or the other, It could become a huge powerhouse and kill off more people than we could ever wish.
So in the end, it's up to us. We have technology, but it's in our hands.
Yeah. But it is an interesting idea of whether technology controls us or we control technology. And when you're thinking about design, it's really very much a reflection of what you want it to be. So, yeah.
Great, that's really interesting.
Awesome. So that was just us talking about technology, and I'm sure to write more about this subject because it's so interesting when you're looking at it from a design point of view as well as from a general point of view, like whether you can think about it alongside politics and things, and if, obviously I'm not a designer, but as a ceramicist, whether introducing different means into the world is going to assist it, and whether there are ways to do stuff like fire pox economically, and with that sort of global issue in mind of the idea of pollution and stuff, because obviously it's such a high pollutant to the atmosphere.